Chambers arrived in Adelaide in the 1850s from Norfolk, England, with his second wife Sarah and his sons Philip and Jabez. The family made their way up the Murray River, arriving at the river port of Waganya and taking up a lease of land from John Ford in 1858. This parcel of land is across the road from the current cellar door and winery. William and Philip set about forming this land with the planting of a rose hedge around the perimeter, giving the property its name, Rosewood. It is the befriending of the next-door neighbour, Anton Roosh, which is what set the Chambers family down the winemaking path. It is reported in family history that prior to emigrating, that some members had spent time in France learning the art of viticulture, grape growing. It was Anton, core of the first vineyards of the region, who taught us the skill required to produce wine. The bond was further strengthened when gold was discovered in Rutherglen on the 9th of September 1860. It was William who negotiated the access rights to the miners on behalf of Anton and his family. The arrival of the thirsty miners, as well as the monies gathered due to the access agreements, enabled the family to purchase the land outright in 1862. From this time until the 1890s, first William and then Philip set about establishing the vineyards and cellar of Chambers Rosewood. When Anton indicated that he wished to return to his native Prussia, the Chambers family purchased his land, which included his cellar and established vineyard. With Philip's untimely death in the 1890s, followed shortly by his wife, it was left up to the 18-year-old William to not only manage the family's holdings, but also to raise his siblings and cousins. Added to his hardship was the economic downturn and the arrival of the grapevine louse phylloxera. Will managed not only to negotiate these problems, but also managed to refine the wine styles produced by the winery. He went on to be a highly successful exhibitor in both the Sydney and Melbourne Royal Agricultural Shows. It is these wines which form the basis of both the rare and grand Muscat and Muscadelle, Topake, Soleras, as well as the older wines such as the aged Dry Floor. Will was joined by his son Arthur, Jerry, upon his graduation from Hawkesbury College. However, father and son did not always see eye to eye, and the result of this led to Arthur purchasing the lakeside property on the banks of Lake Mudamere in the 1920s. The property is situated 7 kilometres or 4 miles west of Rutherglen and remains in the Chambers family to this day. Following Will's death at the age of 80 in the 1950s and shortly thereafter Arthur's, it led to the return of Arthur's eldest son, William Bruce, or Bill, to Rosewood. Bill had studied enology and agriculture at Roseworthy Agricultural College, where he graduated with the gold medal. Bill had completed 2 vintages at the Stanley Wine Company in the Clare Wine region, South Australia, prior to his return to Rutherglen. Bill, along with his mother Peggy and his wife Catherine, set about rebuilding the business. This also included the transfer of stock back to the Rosewood property from St Leonard's, where wine had been produced in partnership for some period. Bill not only successfully navigated the relocation and the trading out of debts, but also established himself as one of Australia's top wine judges, which included a 20-year stint as chair of the Melbourne Wine Show. It was during his 40-year-plus tenure at the helm of Chambers Rosewood that the winery became recognised as one of the premier producers of Muscat and Muscadelle, Topake, fortified wines, both domestically and internationally. Bill started to step back from the day-to-day operations in 2000. His son Stephen returned to Rutherglen after studying a Bachelor of Agriculture, Enology, at Adelaide University and working vintages in Bordeaux, Barossa Valley and Great Southern wine regions. In the wine sense, the transfer of winemaking duties from Bill to Stephen has been seamless, with the Muscats and Muscadelles retaining their quality in high regard. You can still catch Bill at the cellar door, even though he is not active in the day-to-day operations.
The full name of the grape variety used to produce the famous Muscat Rutherland is Muscat of Petit Grands Rouge, which translates as muscat with small red berries. Harvest commences when the sugar reaches a minimum of 288 grams per litre, and generally this occurs in early March. The optimum sugar level desired for this style is between 324 and 380 grams per litre. The grapes are harvested and processed with the must pumped into stainless steel fermenters where a partial fermentation on skins is conducted. This ferment could be between 1 to 3% alcohol, with the amount of fermentation dependent upon the initial sugar concentration of the grapes. When the desired amount of fermentation has occurred, the must is transferred to the press for juice extraction. The resulting fermenting juice is then fortified to 16% initially with neutral grape alcohol, and sulphur dioxide is added. The resultant wine is then transferred to tank for settling. After the settling, the clear wine is racked off the lees and then filtered using a cross-flow filter. The filtered wine is then adjusted to 17.5% alcohol and then transferred to cask for maturation. Each parcel of wine is assessed during fermentation and processing to determine similarities. After 6 to 12 months maturation, the wines are assessed again and classified to determine quality and potential blending options for the Muscat range. The Rutherland Muscat is the entry level to the range and is a youthful expression exhibiting more primary fruit characters of rose petal, Turkish delight and dried fruit. This wine is a non-vintage product and therefore is a blend of years, maybe as little as 1 and up to 5 to 6, and is thus consistent in its aromatics and taste from year to year. All the aging for this style of wine is conducted in the cask prior to bottling, and thus the wine does not improve with bottle aging. However, this also means that the wine can be consumed over a period of time, be it days or months. Rutherland Muscadelle is produced utilising the minor white French variety of the same name, the origins of which are in the southwest of France, in and around the Bordeaux wine region. It was in the past called Tokay due to the misconception that we had a Hungarian grape variety from the Tokay region. A late ripening white variety, it can be susceptible to botrytis, which is a positive. However, for the fortified style of wine we produce, not desired. It is one of the last varieties processed at chambers, and harvest generally occurs in April, but has been known to be harvested in May. To obtain the suitable varietal characters, it has been discovered a minimum of 288 grams per litre is required, with the optimal sugar range between 306 grams per litre and 362. Due to the lateness of the variety, it can be a struggle to ensure that sugar accumulation in the berry is occurring due to vine activity versus dehydration and drying. Having an active canopy is preferable as it retains freshness and vibrancy of varietal characters. The grapes are processed and pumped straight into the press to extract the juice. A minimal fermentation occurs at this stage, which can be as little as 1% alcohol, before fortification with neutral grape spirit to 16 and sulphur dioxide added. The wine is then pumped into stainless steel tanks for settling. Once settling has occurred, the wine is racked and filtered and the alcohol is adjusted to 17.5% before transferring to an old oak cask for maturation. The individual casks are assessed and classified after 6 to 12 months to determine their potential final destination, i.e. Rutherland versus Classic versus Grand versus Rare. The Rutherland Muscadelle is a non-vintage wine blended with the intention to highlight the youthful aspects of the variety. Descriptors such as cold tea, malt, honey and caramel can be associated with the younger wines. Components of this blend could be as young as 1 year old and up to 10 years of age to provide various aspects desired in the final product. The Rutherland Muscadelle is bottled as a finished product and will not improve with bottle aging. However, it can be left open and consumed over a period of months.